So I mentioned we'd start with your early broadcasting days. I guess the first question would simply be, explain the role that ESPN has played in your life over the years.
Well, ESPN, without ESPN, there's no Hall of Fame. There's no the financial success I've had. There's no commercials. There's no books. There's no Dickie V. I mean, ESPN has been vital in my life. It's like my second family. I always talk about, the love I have for my family, obviously, my wife, my daughters, my mom and dad up in heaven. But ESPN is my second family. They've been beautiful to me. I mean, I sit back and I'll tell you, Graham, it's unbelievable when I think about it, how ESPN, my first gig that I did for them, come in, they got a trailer. You get your assignments from a trailer up in Bristol, Connecticut. I go back there now, it's like a gorgeous college campus. I mean, buildings here, cafeterias. I sit there and I pinch myself. The one thing I'm gonna be proud of, when I lay me down to rest, I did the very first game in the history of ESPN college basketball of a national level, Wisconsin-DePaul, back in '79, when I was as depressed as I've ever been in my life, even more so than losing my eye as a kid. I was so down getting fired by the Pistons that I would sit home and I would drive my wife bananas because I didn't do a thing other than, you ready for this? I was watching Luke and Laura on General Hospital. That's how bad it was.
You're pretty obsessed with the soap operas for a while there, weren't you?
Yeah, you got obsessed. I mean, I was looking to kill time and you find out a lot about people also when you got fired. The phone doesn't ring. Call. My wife was always great in that she always said to me, you think you got a lot of friends. You got a lot of associates, a lot of people that are associates. But at tough times, you find out who your friends are. You find out really almost many of us can count on our hand what we call intimate friends. And then obviously your family, but I thought it was the end of the world. I mean, my career was exploded. I'm in the 6th grade teaching in 1970, coaching in high school. 7 or 8 years later, I'm sitting at courtside coaching against Jerry West in the NBA, coaching against Jack Ramsey. I mean, think about that. I was, all my life, a buddy of mine came up with a statement. His name was Stacy Sirigano. A boy, a ball, a dream. And I utilized that a lot in my speeches to kids. And that's what I was, a boy, my ball, and my dreams. And I realized early I wasn't going to be a player, didn't have the quickness, didn't have the kind of explosiveness, but I transferred it into the world of basketball.
You mentioned the first game you broadcast for ESPN. It's funny, I was talking to your daughter Terry yesterday, and I guess it was a running joke in the family for a while that they never actually could see you broadcast games on TV because the early days of ESPN were in so few households. But it was, I believe, Wisconsin and DePaul and Chicago. And you said after that first game, you were just hooked. What was it about that?
I don't know. It was just an incredible feeling. There's a big story to that. My daughters are right, by the way. In fact, I used to tease my wife. They said, Mom, I don't think Dad he's telling you all this that he's going to do games. We never see him on TV. He must have a girlfriend. And I would say to them, no, I have no girlfriend. I'm too ugly. I'm lucky that your mother was the only one that fell for me. But really, what it involved, when I did that game, it was just unbelievable. It's a shot in the arm. Walking in, talking with Ray Meyer, famous coach. They were #1 in the country, DePaul at the time, Mark McGuire, all their players, and it was great. But I will never forget the chaos I caused because I had no idea. Graham, I don't know nothing about TV. Many of us that
What do you mean you don't know anything about TV?
I'm seriously, you guys are pros at it. You study it, journalism. I mean, what are we? We're jocks. Somebody gives you a microphone, so go talk about a game. And then you got the critics now. I'm lucky in those days we didn't have the critics like you have now. I would have been knocked out in the first round. But you see, the bottom line was I had no idea about production meetings, anything of that nature. So I'm walking around the city of Chicago. I had not been in Chicago often to enjoy it, so I'm walking around, finally I look at my clock. It's about 6:30, I better go to the game. I go to the game, I walk in, producers, people are going, wow, where you been? We've been looking for you all day. He said, you're late. I said, late? The game's at 8 o'clock, it's 7:30. Why am I late? I said, we're going to talk about a game. And it started, this is a true story. Producers screaming at me in my ear because I'm talking like he said, hey, we're going to go to commercial. I'm going, oh, okay, Dick, we're on TV. I don't want to hear that nonsense. And if you look at my opening, Richard Deitch and those people posted my opening. I don't know, after so many years I worked, they showed my opening. And I watched that, and it was hysterical because the announcer said to me, Joe Boyle, I've never worked with him since. His son's outstanding announcer with the Pacers, but he was more a hockey guy. So the first question basically, what about DePaul of Wisconsin? And I went on like an unbelievable monologue. Was unreal, like 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it was. Now, DePaul's got this, blah, blah, blah. And today they teach us, 20 seconds, man, boom, bam, go to the next. You learn, and I've learned 37 years of experience.
After a few decades of doing it, you've said you still get anxiety before a game. What happens?
Graham, I feel this way, even with speaking, and I've spoken black tie events, corporate events, stand there at major games. I get goosebumps and I get excited about when that light comes on, I'm ready to rock and roll and do my thing, but I feel that anxiety, that excitement. And I think I've told people this all the time. The day that this happens to me, your producer, Laura, says to me earlier about my being young at heart here or something of that nature, and I really feel that way, and I feel that the day that I wake up and I don't have the excitement, the adrenaline rush. I mean, I got excited today. My boss at ESPN called me up with a couple of games I'm going to do, and I'm already thinking, wow, that's going to be great, man, doing that game, walking in that arena. I mean, I get such a high when I walk in and they start chanting, Dickie V, Dickie V. It's like a little kid. And I think when you lose that feeling and that what I call the winner's edge, the edge to meet the competition, to be prepared. I treat every game, I learned so much. Two guys played a vital role in my early career, Jim Sampson and Bob Lee. Jim Sampson, Hall of Famer.
You guys would go through a routine.
Yeah, he helped me through. He helped me through the early days. Jim was a pro's pro. He's one of the first superstars ESPN ever hired from NBC. Scotty Connell and Chet Simmons brought Jim Sampson to NBC. And after my first game, when I did my first game, the phone rang. Scotty Connell, who hired me. In fact, when he called me to hire me, this is a true story too. And he called up and he said, Dick, I saw you were let go by the Pistons. And he said, I'd love you to do our very first game. I'm with a new network. It's called ESPN. And I said to him, ESPN? Sounds like a disease, man. What is ESPN? And he said, well, do that. And I said, no. And it was my wife. My wife, Lorraine, was annoyed with me that I didn't want to go out and do the game. But I felt I had no TV experience. I felt I belonged in college. I thought my passion and enthusiasm really should go back to coaching in college. I didn't belong in the NBA. I could not handle losing. Losing tore my insides to shreds. I tell people all the time that I stayed in coaching. I think I've been dead by 50. ESPN has expanded my life. But anyway, I got blessed that he called me back about a week later, 10 days, whatever it was, and he said, Dick, do the game, man. You got nothing to lose. So I do that game. After the game, I'm like you said earlier, I'm excited, I'm high. I come home, I get a phone call from him, and he says, hey man, you got 3 things we can't teach. You're candid, you're enthusiastic, and you know your game. But you have no clue, no idea how to get in, out, how to handle the telecast. He said, what I want to do, I want to assign you to work with Jim Sampson, a pro's pro who's going to be with us. And he did. And Jim took me under his wing, taught me at lunch hour how to get in and out. Bob Lee was a genius. I'm so happy for his success, but I'm not shocked. Just like I'm not shocked about Robin Roberts. First time I worked with her, I came home and told my wife, I said, put this down in a book. She will be a flat-out superstar. Not a star, a superstar. Just has that way. Certain people have it, Graham. You have it where you don't. And then Scotty told me I was thinking of going back in college, and I didn't know what he meant, coaching. I was going to go back, and he kept saying to me, don't even think about looking at coaching. He said, Dick, you got a gift, and I didn't know what he meant. He said, you got a gift that you connect. Whether they agree with you or disagree, people are going to the water cooler and say, did you hear what Dick Vitale said yesterday? You heard what he said about that team? He said, don't. And I didn't realize that until 1983. I go to my first assignment for ESPN to the Final Four, and people are coming from Houston, autographs, what is this? And he told me, he said, that's what I'm telling you, you connect.
What were some of the fundamental lessons that you learned early on that helped you as you progressed as a broadcaster?
Well, I think basically the one lesson you learn is you got to listen. You got to listen to your partner. It's a two-way street. It's not one guy. It's not one man doing his thing. It's two people. So learning how to listen. Number one, I pride myself in that. I'm listening when people say something, whether it be a producer, director, I'm observing what they're saying and I'm listening and I may carry it. The second thing is learning the art of getting in and out. Learning that art takes a while. A lot of guys, I feel very bad for them. They start out and today they get critiqued so early and they have no experience. There were a lot of guys who I thought would be good in television, guys you recommend, and when the red light comes on, it's a different animal. It's a different kind of guy. And I learned to relax when the red light comes on. I learned that you're going to make some mistakes. But fundamentally, I think, number one, listening is vital. Number two, the art of getting in and out.
How did you learn how to do that?
I learned that through constant coaching from Jim Sampson. We would go to lunch and he would throw names at me, players. We would rehearse names. He'd say, this kid, I'll give him a quick 10-second soundbite on a kid. And he was great to me. Not good, but great to me. I owe so much to Jim and Bob. Bob Lee used to have you'd get a kick out of this. He was young now. He was about your age. So he started, this is not, oh my God, maybe even younger. He was just out of college, but he started at ESPN when I did. Well, he would give me the rap sign. It was unbelievable. He'd ask me a question. We'd have a show. It was called College Basketball Report Show. And Bob was the host. And Bob would go, Dick, what about me? And he's going, Bob, you give me a rap sign before I even started dancing one day. I said on the show. But he was teaching me really how to get in and out and not, go on, which I'm doing here with you.
What do you bring for a game when, you're sitting there courtside, material? What do you have with you?
I have basically, number one, I do research before a game. I have what I call long-term research and short-term research. Long-term research is looking at the teams before the season, projecting who you think is going to be good, studying and analyzing who they got coming back, recruits that are coming aboard. And then you short-term, you zero in the week you're going to do a game, talk to the coaches, talk to the assistant coaches in particular. They'll give you a lot of information. And you talk to them and you do your short term, how they're playing. What did they do the last 3 games? Are they playing well? Who's hot? Who's not hot? And you make little mental notes and you have some notes in front of you that you go to. I go to those notes as security blankets in between timeouts. Or when we're going to commercial, I'll jot down and look at a note or two about a team. But basically, it's constant preparation, reading. Read a lot of newspapers. Today's day and age with the computer, you could go up there, you get all the information you want. Knowledge is not the problem. It's sharing the knowledge, getting the art of communicating your concepts, your thoughts, what you're trying to get out of that telecast. That's vital. And I've been blessed, I'm going to tell you, great producers. I see some of them today who have become giants. One talked about me just recently in a podcast. I was told he was interviewed by Richard Deitch on his podcast. He's now a star with Sunday Night Football, Freddie Goodell.
Oh, sure.
Freddie does all the Sunday Night Football. And he talked about the early days. He said, when he worked with me, he said, oh my God. He said, when they told me I worked with Dick Vitale, I said, this can't be. This guy is seeing TV. He said, everything he told Richard, you see. That's the man. He said, I love him, and we're good friends.
How does the time investment that you put into preparation now compare to when you were first starting out?
I think right now it's not as much for me because there's so much available. I think the one thing I've been guilty of, and I know producers have to remind me of it, I probably have too much I want to share, especially early. Like when I do my first couple games, you want to get out all your thoughts on who the best diaper dandy is going to be, the freshman, who's going to make an impact. You want to get out right away who you think preseason All-Americans are going to be, potential player of the year. And I want to give too much. So I think there's such a wealth of knowledge available today. If I showed you my mail, that I get from respective schools and what you get off the computer, what ESPN sends us. I mean, you could sit there. It's staggering. It's staggering, really, compared to what we have. And we got to realize, too, and I don't know about you. You're a sports fan, obviously, for what you're doing. I'm a big sports fan. A lot of people think I'm just 24/7 basketball, but I am an absolute. That's why I like Twitter, Facebooks. I love Periscope. I did a Periscope today. I mentioned your show. We're gonna be taping.
You'll be driving with Lorraine in Periscoping, I understand.
Yeah, she drives and I Periscope.
Offering Ray's commentary while you're making parking suggestions to Lorraine, right?
But you're right about that. But I love it because it allows me to show people that I'm not just one-dimensional. I love all sports. I'm a sports fanatic, and there's so much out there in the world of sports that takes place, and I love sharing it. I love being part of it.
Starting in the mid-2000s, I believe, leading up to games, you would have tears literally rolling down your face out of concern over how you sounded. Explain what was going on there.
Well, I went through a tough time. I went through a tough period. Only a couple of people knew about it, really. That I was going through a major throat problem. I mean, major. It was, Graham, it came a point where I came very close. Very close. I thought maybe it was over. The party was over.
Why?
Out. Because I couldn't get words out. I couldn't get them out like I wanted to get them out. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. I mean, a struggle. I'm going to tell you something. I literally used to sit in my room at times or on a plane going to do a game and tears rolling down because I had fear about what I'm going to say. I'm doing games instead of me thinking about the 2-3 zone, the matchups. I'm thinking about how I'm sounding. And I'd pour water down. I went to about 7 different doctors. They all told me basically it's that I've beaten up my throat all these years. That a lot of guys like me, coaches, we talk from here as opposed to pros who talk from here and singers from here. And finally, what happened one day, I came home, my son-in-law who's a surgeon, Chris came home and he said to me, I met a doctor today here who's a new throat guy in town. I want you to see him. And I'm tired of seeing guys. Man, I saw 7 guys. So tell me I have to just live with this. No, I made an appointment. So I went to see him. He looked at me and he said, Dick, I don't know what it is, but there's something I don't like that I see when I go down looking into your throat. He said, but I can't get into there because I don't have the equipment to do such. And there's only one guy. He said, he's the best of the best. He is the Michael Jordan. He said the Larry Bird. He is the creme de la creme, Dr. Steven Zeitels. And I'm going to get you an appointment with him. Not easy, but I'm going to get you an appointment with him. Well, he did. I did a game in New York. We did the Jimmy V Classic. And we then went over, my wife and I, and friends of mine, Mary Keneally and her husband, Joe, we went over to Boston that early. He said, I'll see you 7 in the morning. I walked in, and I started trying. He gave me a hell of an education. He talked to me in a way that no one's ever talked to me. I started telling him I saw 7 guys. He stopped me. He said, I don't want to hear about the 7 guys. He said, number 1, you're here because you got a problem, okay? And number 2, I'm the guy running the show here. I'm in charge, and you're going to listen to me. Patients don't tell me what to do. And I was like blown away. And then all of a sudden he started going down my throat, and I'm tearing up because he's shoving this, I don't know what you call it, a scope, going down, doing the scope, and he's got a monitor TV. Called my wife over, and he said, your husband's got a problem. Got a problem. He says, see these right here, these, I guess, black marks, whatever they were. He said, he's got lesions all over his throat. He said, and it could be cancerous. He said, we will not know until we do surgery. And we went, we did the surgery. I was wavering about doing the surgery. I was just going to say, the heck with it, and just go out my life and see how long I can live without it.
Why?
Because I just, I don't know, I was confused. The doctors were telling me, other doctors, don't do surgery at your age. You don't need that surgery. You can go and just be hoarse all the time when you're speaking, and really tough getting words out. Now, if I weren't probably in television, I probably would not have done the surgery. But we did the surgery. Today, he and I have become such great friends. He is absolutely a superstar beyond superstars. He came to the induction ceremony when I got in the Hall of Fame with his family, and it was right after that. That was prior to that. I had the surgery, and in my speech, if you listen to my speech, I refer to him. I said, in a crowd is a man that really has meant a lot to me, because he certainly helped me at a time when I was so down, man. I was, here it is. The thing that's given me what you're looking at today, the kind of home I have, the places I go, the people I've met, the fame, all the things that have happened to me, now it's going to take me down my throat. And it just tore me up. And I just got a lucky break, went in there. It was pre-cancer. It was called dysplasia. It wasn't cancer. Funny story with that too is, as a kid, I lost my eye and my mother gave me St. Jude to carry. And I'm not here preaching religion, but in the Catholic religion, St. Jude is like a miracle worker. When things are tough, you go to St. Jude. So there I am going for surgery, and they tell me, you can't bring nothing in surgery. So I said to the nurse taking me, I said, you're wrong. St. Jude is coming to surgery. St. Jude is always with me, has been with me for 50-some years. St. Jude is coming. So he said, well, you can pin it on the inside of your thing. So he pinned it. So now surgery ends, and I had a game I was going to play with. My buddy was there, John Saunders, and my agent, Sandy Montag, they were all there. And I said to John, do me a favor. I'm going to be in a daze when I come out of surgery. Just go like this if it's not cancer. And I was scared. I said, if it's not cancer. If it's cancer, then just, because he said I'll be able to tell when I do the surgery. And I have to still send it out, but he said, by experience, I'll be able to tell. So now I come in, I'm with this, and John's going like this. That's okay. And Dr. Zeitels comes over to me, puts his arm around me, and he says, I don't know who, because he's Jewish, so I don't know who you got in your pocket. He said, but you better take him everywhere you go. So we became great friends through the V Foundation. We've given a lot of money now to for the throat. Dr. Zeitels has operated on giants. In fact, when Adele won her Grammy, she said to the crowd, she said, I owe this all to Dr. Steven Zeitels. You go in his office, it's like a who's who, man. James Taylor, Steven Tyler. You'd be shocked at the people, Cher, and all these, Lionel Richie, all these people that have had some throat problems. I got a chance to meet James Taylor. They bring me backstage to meet him. I have no idea. So he says, you got a concert on a Wednesday, concert Thursday, concert. So I said, geez, James, I said, do you ever have any problem with your throat? I mean, how do you do that? Sing every night, 2 hours. He said, I did have a problem. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I had some surgery. I said, you know what? I did too. I said, I had it from a guy up in Boy. He started laughing. He said, Steven Zeitels. I said, you're right. He said, he did mine. Now, I called Steve up right away. We were coming home from the concert. I said, I didn't know you operated on James Taylor. So I never tell you, Dick, because he never publicized it. He said, it's private, and unless they publicize it. Adele put it all over national TV, and so did Steven Tyler. But that was a tough time. But you know what? I've learned in life, a lot of people got a lot tougher than I've ever had. Losing my eye, my parents used to say, hey, don't feel sorry for yourself. Some people got it worse. You can be somebody, Richie. One eye, you can be somebody. You can do what you want to do. And I'm so lucky that I had a mom and dad that inspired me so much.
I ask this because the ladies that were putting on your daughter's wedding even told me they had to stick you in confessional before the wedding just to keep you from talking to people. So after the surgery, you couldn't speak for 3.5 weeks.
It was
What's
tough.
that like?
I'd go to the Broken Egg where I go, or at First Watch. Now I'm going both places, and I'd have cardboard. My wife put her in there, but in a drawer. We'd have these things I used to write notes on. People would come over, and I said, I can't speak, and all, how are you, and all that stuff. And it was tough. And the toughest for me was, I'll never forget this. It's about 4.5, it was a little more than 3.5 weeks. It was longer than that. It might have been 5 weeks, I'm not sure, but it was a long period of time. So now it was time for me to go back to see him. And he said to me when I walked in the office, he said, speak to me. And I couldn't, he'll tell you this if you ever interview him, I couldn't get words out. Like that. He said, speak to me. I was afraid, fearful what's going to come out, because you read all reports after surgery, sometimes sound like you didn't know, and I was afraid of what was coming out. And Fortunately, he had me count to 10, 1, 2, 3, then do the alphabet, A, B, C. Like a little kid, man. You're in your late 60s at the time, or whatever I was, and I'm there trying to learn the art of how to speak. And since then, I have followed his rules. He has a bunch of rules. He does it with his singers as well. Number one, I don't do double headers anymore. I don't do 2 games in one night.
Okay.
Don't do that. Number 2, I try to avoid, 99% of the time, I don't do back-to-back games. I don't do that. Number 3, days of games, I try to be as low-key. ESPN, what happened to me, if I went to do a game and I went to a shoot-around, right? I go to a shoot-around. Well, all the local TV, and I never say no to anyone, Graham. I try to be a person to never forget where I came from. Somebody's starting out with their career, they're looking to get ahead. You know, it might be a big thrill for them to interview somebody that's been on TV. And I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to say no. So I'd be talked out by the time the game would start. So what they do now at ESPN, they get a room. And I go out a few minutes with the kids, sign autographs, take pictures, and I'll go in a room and relax my throat before a game. He came to a game and he did a test on me. He and his people, they did a test on when I use my throat. They did the same on Steven Tyler on a concert. And he said, you know, you got to really understand this is your living. And if you want to, he said, Dick, I could get you a lot more years. And this has been, oh man, I think the operation, my mind tells me it's like 2007, about 2007. So here it is, 8 years later, I've had 8 incredible years.
Right.
That's some good money. So I owe him a lot of money, man. You ought to get more than my agent gets.
Didn't you go to a vocal coach?
Oh yeah, I get one. I get one regularly. In fact, he's supposed to be here today.
Okay.
And because you're here, you've taken his spot. He's going to be here next week. And he goes through some routine I got to do. It's unbelievable.
What are the exercises?
Well, you know, there's all crazy exercises like, oh my God, just this different sounds, you know, different things that I have to do that.
Am I putting you on the spot?
Put me on the spot. No, it's basically, you know, every day, every week it changes. He brings in all kinds of new sayings. I got them underneath my, what do you call them, over there. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank here for it. But basically, he brings in new sayings for me with certain words that are tough to get out.
Uh-huh. And how does that help?
It helps a lot. It helps you to utilize, and he works on me doing stuff at my age to do a lot from here.
Okay.
You know, they has you do a little singing, like row the boat, all that jazz.
Really?
Like My Country Tisney.
And try and do it from...
Yeah, try and do it from here as opposed to speaking from here. John Ferrara is his name, and he's absolutely terrific. He does a great job. I'm almost embarrassed to say some of the stuff I do. It's comical. My wife laughs at how she hears me doing that stuff, you know. And
but I'm sure successful singers do the same sort of training.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do these routines before they go out to warm up your vocal cords, you know.
What'd your wife say to you the first time she heard you doing it?
She's laughing hysterically, wanting to know if that stuff helps at all. And I really believe it does help. I really do, because I find myself, forcing myself to speak from here as opposed from here. But it's interesting. Some of the stuff that I do, you'll be hysterical. If you want to see some, I get right under my desk there. I get them right there. I'll do a few for you, unless they took them away, but they were underneath that, right there. They should have been underneath there. Oh, they're not. They hit it. Yeah, right there. Some of the sayings, and some of the on my reading lesson. The skunk sat on a stump, and thunk the stump stunk, but the stump thunk the skunk stunk. 5 fine Florida florists fried fresh flat flounder fish fillet. Oh man!
And you try and speak that from the.
It is, if a noisy noise annoys an onion, an annoying noisy noise annoys an onion more. And I mean, these are the kind of stuff he brings you. That's why you ask it's mix a box of mixed biscuits with a boxed this is a tough one. Mix a box of mixed biscuits with a boxed biscuit mixer. The instinct of an extinct insect stinks. I mean, it's comical. But we do these regularly. We've been doing them for 7, 8 years now, and it works. It's just unbelievable.
You're blind in your left eye. Explain what happened.
I'm told so many things. When I was a youngster, supposedly I pointed a pencil in my eye prior to when I'm 4 or 5, and my eye lost the vision in the eye, damage, I guess, to the cornea or whatever, and just, I don't know what it is to have 2 eyes, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is, so I don't miss it. I feel I could do anything anybody else does, except I was told young, don't play football. And I was playing, this is unbelievable. I was playing 8th grade football. My parents did not know I was playing. I was playing 8th grade football, and I was the quarterback. I was pretty good. Taking that tee, roll out, I was pretty good.
You were a good athlete. I mean, you almost pitched a perfect game, too.
Yeah, right? I was a decent athlete. I was in my own dreams, I thought I was better. You're right about the perfect game, though. That's another story. But anyway, I'm playing, and a guy writes in a column, a famous writer, for us he was famous, local. He was a local columnist and covered a high school scene in our area. His name was Augie Leo. And he wrote in his column something to the effect, I don't know word for word, obviously, hey, Garfield better forget about, Garfield was always famous where I went to school for running the single wing, not the T formation, back in those days. Garfield better forget about the single wing. They got a young phenom in the 8th grade, man. You'd see this kid, Dick Vitale, roll. When I came home, my uncles, who were sports fanatics, came in and told my mother if I was playing football, and they went ballistic because that was the one sport the doctor said with my eye not to take a chance. So I did stay away, and I pitched a little. And you know what? Pitching, you mentioned that pitching. I just gave a little lecture to my grandsons recently. They were playing Little League Baseball, and I went to watch them, and they had a good team. They won the regional, they won the district, came close, a couple of games away from maybe going to state to the Southeast Regional and go on to women's sport. They had a real good team. But the one thing that disturbed me watching the kids play was all the curveballs I was seeing. I couldn't believe it. And my son-in-law, I told you earlier, is a hand, shoulder, elbow surgeon. So I called him on the phone. I said, Chris, am I wrong? These kids, should they be throwing curveballs, 11 and 12? He said, no, but some people will tell them that if you throw it the right way, it's not going to put any strain on. And he said, that's definitely wrong. So we make sure our kids don't. Now, I remember me as a kid. You mentioned there was one game in particular, I made the All-Stars. I got the article in my desk there to show my grandkids because they didn't believe me. I struck out 15 out of the 18 batters, 6 innings, 3 outs an inning. I had the last batter, I got a perfect game, and the kid hits a ground ball down to first, and they gave him a hit. My uncles went nuts in the stands because they thought it should have been an error and at least a no-hitter because I struck the next guy out. But they took away the perfect game, the no-hitter, the whole bit. But when I got the next year, I was like 12 and a half, going to go to play 13-year-old baseball. A guy taught me how to throw a curveball. And once you get the feeling as a kid of throwing that ball and seeing it curve, you start to do what? Or they'll always tell you, well, it's okay if you throw a couple of them, but you don't throw a couple of them because you start. By the time I got in high school, when they thought I was going to be a decent pitcher on a high school team, I couldn't throw the ball through a glass pane window. Wow. My elbow was absolutely paining all the time. In those days, there was no such thing as Tommy John surgery and all that. But I probably would have been a candidate for that. My baseball was over.
What do you remember from the infection you got in your eye?
That was probably worse than, that I do remember. I don't remember the poking in the eye as a little baby or a kid, 2, 3 years old. But I do remember the infection. It was the start of my junior year. I couldn't go out in the sun. If I went out in the sun, I was like this all the time. I mean, it was pus coming out of my eye. My mother was going from one doctor to another. And we're getting different advice. A lot of them were saying, we should take the eye out. Take the eye out, because you can't see it in any way. Take it out. And the other doctor said, no, don't take it out, because you never know latest techniques. We'll try this medicine. And finally, my family physician, Dr. Joseph Latona, who delivered us, and he was a great guy, Dr. Latona told my mother, I'm going to try to get him an appointment. He said, there's a genius in the eyes. in New York at the New York Eye and Ear Hospital. I believe that's what it was called. His name is Dr. Bernard Samuels. And I'm going to try to get an appointment with him. And I went to him, and I was like 15, 16 at the time. I went in his office and he said to me, I'll never forget it, son, don't let anybody, because he was old, he was probably at the time in his late 60s, don't let anyone tell you that the eye should come out. He said, I'm going to do a procedure on you, and you're not going to have any more problem with the sun, with the pus. I'm going to take care of that. I can't take care of your vision. That's been damaged. Well, he did that, and it was like, oh my God, I could walk in the sun, I could walk outside. And I want to share this because I finally shared it in my book. You know, we hear so much today about bullying. We hear so much today where kids embarrass people, humiliate people, adults do it. I think back on my days in the Little League. My eye used to go on the side. I could never look you straight in the eye. If I were doing an interview now with you in my olden days, my eye, I would be like this. As I do, because I never let you know that I can't. Because if I looked at you like this, you would turn and look because my eye would go out here. So when I was pitching in the Little League, I didn't realize it was like knives going through me. Adults screaming, hey, does that kid know where he's throwing? Look at his eye, man. Does he know where he's throwing? And I'd go home, and my mother would come in my room. I could feel it today. I would go to my room, and I would cry like a baby because I was so hurt. I'd look at the mirror, and I couldn't look at the mirror. My eye was going. I couldn't control it. It was something totally out of my control. I had no control about that, and it was to bother me. You wouldn't even ask girls out for a date because you felt like, do you want to look at me? And it was just a tough, mentally a time, and getting teased all the time. And I beg people out there, help people that have a dilemma. Don't hurt them. Don't hurt them and put knives to them. It might be you, it might be someone you love. In essence, I was really bullied, and I didn't realize it. I tried to make jokes of guys say, hey man, you know where you're throwing? Look at your eye. And I laughed about it until I go in my room. I didn't laugh.
Why does even today, thinking back about that, make you so emotional?
It just, I don't know. It brings back such unbelievable memories to me. There's certain things in my life, because I sit here today, I'm like a little kid who can't believe what's happened in my life. I wake up every day, my wife always tells me, you know, gee whiz, you act like this is something new to you, being having some success. But I think it's unbelievable what's happening. It all happened because I learned two things from my mom and dad. Two things, and I could hear them telling me today. My mother would say to me, 5th grade education. My parents, if they had a 5th grade education, they had a lot. But they had a doctorate of love. I got so much love at home. It was unbelievable. I was always meant them in their eyes to be the best. When I got fired by the Pistons, my father, do they know what they're doing? Are they crazy? They know how good you are. I mean, you know how good that makes you feel that your parents think. I tell parents all the time, find something beautiful to say to your kids. It means so much to them. I remember going with my buddy once to a Little League game here. His son was playing the Little League, a guy's named Art, and I go with Art to the game, and his son did a nice job. And as we're walking off, I'm with my wife, and we're walking off, and there's this father. He's in his son's face. The kid is crying hysterically. You're embarrassed. We struck out 3 times. I come here to see you. I want to go over and say something. My wife is pulling me by the arm. I want to say, are you kidding me? The kid came here to play. So it'd be a great experience, something positive. But my parents instilled in me, one, my mother used to say all the time, when I was chasing the dream of wanting to be a college coach, I would write letters to all these schools. We had won back-to-back state championships, and I wanted, like anybody else, like you want to climb the ladder. We all have dreams and goals. So I wanted to go from my high school coaching to coaching college. So I was realistic. I would write letters. to some of the schools in the area. I wasn't writing to Kentucky and Carolina and Duke and UCLA and I got more rejections. I used to always tell people, I got more rejections than the dean of Harvard gives out. And we had a stack, when we moved to Florida, we had a stack of letters, and my wife and I laughed when we looked at them, all these rejections. But along that way, I came home one day, and I will never forget, there's certain things in your life you just don't forget. I remember coming in the house, and only moms and dads, they have a way of knowing what's happening with their kids. And my mother says, Richie, it was never Dick, Richie, I don't see that fire in you, like you always have, that spirit. She should call it spirit, not energy or enthusiasm. Spirit. I said, Mom, my buddies are right, man. All my buddies were telling me, hey, Rich, you're going to be here all your life, teaching in 6th grade, coaching in high school. You don't know anybody. You weren't a great player. Face reality, chasing these crazy dreams. And I finally was giving up. I said, they're right. They're right. I was getting my master's in administration because I was going to be a principal of the elementary school and coach along the way in high school. So anyway, my mother sat me down on the couch. I'll never forget this. I'm here, hand, and she said, Richie, listen to me. Don't listen to your friends. Don't ever, ever, was the best advice. I shared it in my latest book. Don't ever, ever believe in the word can't. Don't allow can't to be part of your life, Richie. And I would hear maybe 15 times a day from my mom and dad, Richie, be good to people and people will be good to you. Well, I'm in 13 Hall of Fames. 13 Hall of Fames, including the Basketball Hall of Fame. Okay, right up there. I'm in there. I can't run. I tell people this, I speak, I mention this all the time. I can't run. I can't jump. I can't shoot. I got a body by linguini, and I'm in 13 Hall of Fames because all my life I've had passion and pride. I just told a bunch of kids just the other day, I said, you know, you find a lot about people. Not when they give you the gold trophy, not when they tell you you're the best. You find out about people, how they handle adversity. I was telling some kids who didn't feel they did well in their tournament in tennis. I said, you know what? The champ doesn't allow that to multiply to the next tournament. They learn from what they've done and they move on. Derek Jeter, when he played, went 0 for 4, but he never allowed it to compound. The new day was a new day. There's too many athletes, they allow it to compound. Go from one to the next, and before long, they're in a big slump. And I think in life, that is so true, because life has bumps and bruises. I've had a lot of bumps, I've had a lot of bruises. I've taken some hits when I started out. He talks too much, he's loud, he violates all the rules. Oh, really? Some guys ought to try it, man, because I'll tell you one thing, I've talked from here. And when you talk from your heart and you talk from here, a lot of good things happen.
Your dad worked in a factory pressing coats. After his business failed, ended up going back to that job and then taking a second job, working security in the evenings. What do you think that taught you about work ethic?
Well, it taught me about discipline, taught me about work ethic, it taught me about love. I watched my father come home on Fridays. He would take his money out of his pocket that he made, put it on the table, X number of dollars for food, X number of dollars for our food, X number of dollars for the insurance man, and then that one day we would go to Barcelona's in Garfield. They're gonna love what I'm saying this. I haven't mentioned Barcelona's in Garfield, New Jersey for pizza as a family. It was the greatest thing, man. Family go down and have some pizza on a Friday night, but they were proud. They were always about, Graham, about family. It was always about putting food on the table for your kids. I was one of the first in my family to go to college. My father begged me. He took me 1 year in the summer to the factory. And I go to the factory, it's a sweatshop. And everybody's in t-shirts and sweat coming out, and he pressed coats. They'd bring him coats, I'd run those coats over to him, and the more coats he pressed.
And he was paid by the piece, right?
By the piece work. Paid by every coat you press, you make a few dollars more. And he's banging those suckers out. We'd get in the car on the way home, and I got more of an education. And he'd say to me, Richie, you don't want to do this, Richie. He'd come home, eat, would eat at the table, put a security guard uniform on, and go walk the mall, 6 to 12, and that was his existence. And I really had a hysterical moment with my agent at IMG. I went to Final Four, and she says to me, I don't know if you noticed or not, I got to tell you this because your schedule here is out of whack. He said, but I'm going to tell you, I got speaking engagements for you for this company, for that company, lunch hour, breakfast, and then SportsCenter wants you 6 and 11, and you're doing the games on ESPN International, something new we do the last couple of years. You're doing a semifinal and the final game. You get all, and I start laughing. She's not going to get done from 7 in the morning to 12. She said, what are you laughing? I said, you can't be serious. I said, it's stealing money. My father worked. He did that every day for months and years. I'm going to do 3 days. I said, I'm getting paid a lot to speak, right? She says, yeah, you're getting paid a lot. I said, come on. I make more in one speech than my father made his probably last 3, 4, 5 years.
He worked 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., came home
but
for
you do
dinner and
research.
change, and then 6 p.m. to
12.
midnight. You know, I was talking to your daughter, Terry, yesterday, and she told me, and I quote, on some level, my dad almost feels guilty for his success. What do you think of that?
I don't know. I just feel, I see people struggle, and it really sometimes, people ask me, you know, we've been fortunate in my life. We just gave a big scholarship to Notre Dame to help kids. I want to do something positive. My life is winding down. I'm in the last chapter, man. I can't hide it. I can't hide the number. I can be enthusiastic. I can be energetic. I can have all this spirit, and I do. And I feel young till I look in the mirror, then I realize how old I am. But I feel like a 12-year-old. But I want to be good to people because people have been so good to me. I can't believe, like I said, my mother and father would go nuts to be able to see the things that have happened for me. And it's all my upbringing. I tried to never, I told my daughters, you know, things have changed in my life materialistically. But if my character ever changes, I try to treat everybody. Just before you did this interview, man, I'm at a restaurant here, and a woman came over with her daughter. So I want to thank you so much. I said, thank me for what? You know, taking a picture and thank you. You know, she said, all the money you're raising for pediatrics. She said, my daughter is a cancer. She was like 10 years old. She said she got cancer when she was 5, and it's now 5 years, and we're celebrating because they say 5 years is the time frame that you can beat it. And she has, but I want to thank you. And I'm telling you, I had a mother, the name is Peters. Kyle Peters is the youngster. She brought me to tears. Brought me to tears at my gala. I mean, how powerful is this? She gives me a big hug, Mrs. Peters, Jen Peters her name is, and she says, you saved my son's life. I said, I saved your son's life. How did I ever do that? She said, the $1 million that you guys raised in the name of Peyton Wright for brain cancer, the doctors told us that when Kyle got brain cancer, that the research that was done through that $1 million that was given to them, they were able to make steps and move in a positive way, and it affected his life. And today he's cancer-free. And she gave me a big hug. And I just shook. I shook. That's powerful stuff. And I want to give back. And my daughters, I know what she means about guilty, and I always say to them, I want to do this more for this one. I want to do that more. I want to go out where people remember me as a guy with a lot of pride, a lot of passion, guy that overcame some obstacles. I mean, I'm not the smoothest guy on TV. I don't have that articulate way like many guys have, and the polished way. But I noticed, the one thing I'm noticing now, I said a lot of guys, my thing wasn't shtick, man. My thing, John Madden, Chris Berman, that's who we are. That's who we are. Terry Bradshaw, that's who we are. We are that. We are not made in a journalism school. I wish I did have all the, I have such respect for all the guys I work with, whether it be Dan Schulman, Davey O'Brien, Brad Nessler, Mike Tirico's, whoever I work with over the years, Brent Musburger. Those guys are pros. They've learned the art, how to get in and out. They handle all the traffic, all the commercials. We, as analysts, are basically jocks talking about our sport. And that I could do in my sleep.
You mentioned wanting to do, something positive in your life, which obviously you've done a ton already. I think raised $15+ million for, cancer since your gala started. Jim Valvano, you guys, I believe, really started becoming friends when you were working together at the ESPN. Explain how you found out he had cancer.
I got a call one day from the Washington Speakers Bureau. I'm proud to say I've been with for over 20 years, and they booked me speaking engagements all over. And they called me up and they said, are you free this day? And it was like soon. Usually they book you a couple months in advance. And I said, gee whiz, what? He said, well, we got one of our people can't make these engagements. And I said, well, who is it? Well, we'd rather not. I said, come on now. And they finally said to me, Jim Valvano. I said, Jim Valvano, why can't he make these engagements? They said, call Jimmy up. And I called him up. And he started crying on the phone. And we both started talking. And I was just, you know, as certain people you feel like are invincible. I thought, Jimmy V, cancer, this loving, fun guy with all, I can't believe that. He said, I have cancer, Dick, and it's bad. And we talked. And there's something, I tried to find this about a month ago, and I can't. We moved from our house in Prestantia to here. But Jimmy, when he got his cancer, back then, this is 1992, I believe, died in 93, he sent me a letter, handwritten. I will never forget it because it touched me so much. He wrote me a letter, and in the letter he basically said, Dick, love you, buddy. He said, slow down. Slow down. You go in 5 million different ways, speaking, TV, here, commercials, whatever. Slow down. Writing books. He said, trust me, it'll get you. You can't live like that. Here he was battling cancer. He was worried about what I was doing. And we stayed in touch. A lot of people don't know this, but Jimmy and I probably talked almost regularly during that whole period. And then when I'll never forget the first ESPY show, went to the rehearsal. When I came from the rehearsal and came back to the hotel, I was blown away as to what they were going to do. I saw the video presentation about him and his career and how we're going to have the first, Jimmy V is going to receive the Arthur Ashe Award. I was going to introduce him. Dustin Hoffman introduced me. And it was really going to be a special night. So I called him up. So I wanted to make sure he was all on board. And when I called him up, he said, I could barely hear him talk. He's going, Dick, I'm not coming. I could care. I feel miserable now. I'm sick as a dog. I can't do this. I can't do that. I said, Jimmy, you got to come to New York, man. You got to come. This is special. Well, Mike Krzyzewski flew with him on a plane with his wife. Jimmy was so sick on that plane. If you would have seen him at the event and in a hotel before he got up to speak, you would have said there is no way, shape, or form that he'd be able to carry on and speak. But somehow, through the magic, he did. I remember telling one of the people that were there, I don't know if it was the production assistant, whoever, maybe we should bring a microphone right to his seat and don't let him get up. And when I introduce him, have him just say a few words, thank you there. Never in my wildest dreams that I ever thought he'd give the speech that he gave.
I've got to go, and I've got one last thing. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. And those three things are going to carry on forever. I thank you, and God bless you all.
I remember him when he saw me talking. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm trying to make it easy for you. He was throwing up in a wheelchair. It was unbelievable. Well, finally, he just said, get me up on the stage. And we got him up. Mike Krzyzewski, I think it was Joe Theismann, myself, we carried him up on the stage, basically. He got up. I thought he was going to say thank you. If you watch, I'm standing to his right for the whole speech because I thought he was just going to take the award, I give it to him, say thank you, and sit down. I'm standing in awe. It was the greatest speech. It has, I feel this way, Graham. We can talk about greatness all we want. To me, the definition of greatness in an individual is the impact they make on others' lives for generation after generation. I don't know the exact number by the time you go in air, but I'll guarantee it's probably 150, 160 million that has been already raised in his name for research in all forms of cancer. Think about the lives that he's affected and the people that he's helped along that way. That is magical To me, he's a legend beyond legends, an icon. The people from the V Foundation, from John Saunders to Mike Krzyzewski to Harry Rhodes to Washington Speakers Bureau, to his family, to his wife Pam, all those people, they work, his brothers, Nick and Bobby, those people work religiously trying to raise dollars to help others, because that was Jimmy's goal and his dream, to help others battle that unbelievable disease. I will never forget one time, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but I'm at ESPN. He calls me up to his room. We're going to go on the air. He wanted to work right till the end.
This is when he's sick.
Very sick. He calls me up to his room. It's a Sunday night. And some kind of Sinatra show was on. He's got shorts on. He's laying in bed. And he had called. I was eating in the cafeteria at the hotel across from ESPN. And he said, come up the room. And I went up there. And he just starts like unbelievably crying, tears. He's just punching the wall. Starts punching the wall. I said, Jimmy, you just take your worst toothache and run it through your whole body. That's what I feel. See, a lot of people don't know this. Jimmy did not want to take the morphine to help the pain because he felt that that was admitting that he couldn't beat it. And he told me at the time when I told him, it was a very marginal percentage, small percentage, can beat what he had. And he said, I'm going to be one of those guys to beat that. I'm going to beat it. And he did everything. His daughters taking him to church regularly, going for walks, for exercise, doing everything he thought that could help. And the pain was so severe, he finally gave in and utilized the morphine at the end to try and eliminate that pain. When I saw that, I remember calling my wife. I said, no guy should live like that. No human being. And that's what a lot of these people, I'll tell you, one of the most heartwarming things that ever happened to me, they had Dickie V Day at All Children's Hospital up in St. Petersburg. My wife and I go there, and I have a children's book. And the children's book was kids from 2 to 6. And a buddy of mine, Mike Valdez, he went out and bought about 400 of them for everybody in the hospital, everybody. Nurses, patients, whoever wanted one, we gave one. So one of the people in charge asked me if I would read to all the kids if they got them out of their rooms. I said, of course. So they brought all these kids. And I was going that day, I believe, to see a baseball game, the Rays. It's a few years back. This happened maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. But anyway, they brought these kids out. And the book's simple. B for ball, A for awesome, J for jump. It's all for little kids, caricatures, it's funny as heck. And I'm reading the book, and these kids are laughing, and they're jumping, and they're running. And I get done, I said to one of the nurses or pediatricians there was standing there, I assume he was a pediatrician. I said, I don't get it. I don't get it. These kids look healthier than my grandkids. What? He said, everybody you read to. Leukemia, neuroblastoma, brain cancer. I said, you're kidding me. And they said, you know, Dick, I remember one guy saying this to me. Dick, you're going to a baseball game. You know what their parents do? They sit from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night at their bedsides, dreaming, hoping, and praying for a miracle. And I share that in my speeches because we sometimes don't realize how lucky. I tell people all the time, and I firmly believe this, if you have your health and you're able every day to live a healthy life, you're a zillionaire. You're a billionaire, zillionaire, whatever you want to be. Go to hospitals and see these kids. They had me at this year's Final Four. They took me to Riley Children's Hospital. I walked in there. I could not believe some of the things I witnessed. And if you're a human being and you got healthy kids, my grandkids are playing baseball, tennis. I mean, knock wood, we're lucky. It could change in one moment. That is why people say, why are you so obsessed, it seems, raising money for kids, for pediatrics? Why? Because God forbid something happened to my grandkids. I want to make sure they're research dollars, because I'm going to tell you something that bothers me. And it really bothers me. And it should bother all the experts out there as well. What if I told you that only 4% of every dollar raised for cancer research goes to pediatrics? 4%. That's a crime. Kids, beautiful kids, our future. Not enough being research done to help them live. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. I really don't, Graham. I don't think
I
people are
wasn't,
aware,
right.
aware of that number. But 4% for kids, that, my friend, is a crime.
You said the hardest speech you ever gave was speaking at the funeral of a 1-year-old.
Adrian Littlejohn. Adrian's dad coaches in town here. And we got to know each other a little through Patrick Wright, who is a great inspiration to me. Patrick and his wife, Holly, I think she summed it the best. I could paraphrase. She gave a speech at one of our galas. Just for a couple of minutes, she went, it was so powerful, though. And I'm watching, at our gala, we have superstars beyond. We've had, I mean, you name them. Kenny Chesney, Pat Riley, Magic Johnson, all the coaches, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino, John Calipari, Billy Donovan, Bill Self. I mean, go on, they've all been with us. All been with us. Some come every year. But she got up and told the crowd. It was a year, I believe, that Calipari had just lost the national championship in that unbelievable game with Kansas when he was at Memphis. Kid hit a 3 to send it to overtime, and they lost in the overtime. And she said to the crowd, she said, I know you coaches feel a lot of, I'm paraphrasing her, but I know you coaches feel a lot of pain and hurt when you basically lose a game. It's like the end of the world. And it should be. It's your living. That's what you do for a living. But you know what, coaches? You're going to get another game to coach. I am never, ever going to get a chance to coach my little girl, Peyton. I watched little Peyton, and I think that's really what got me so fired up over kids. Peyton was a neighbor of ours. I went to her funeral. I watched a beautiful mom and dad who were living an American dream, late 30s, 3 beautiful kids, and all of a sudden, Patrick tells me the story, how his life changed when they never in their wildest dreams thought about the word cancer because she was screaming about pain in her knee. And they did research. First they went there, doctor said, growing pains. Nothing wrong with her knee. She would not stop screaming. She's screaming every night about this pain she has. I was thinking of Jimmy V and the pain that he had, and that's probably what she had. And they went back, and he got somebody to do an MRI, another doctor, of her whole body. Patrick tells the story how he's sitting there, and a radiologist walks in with the x-ray, I guess, the MRI report, and he's talking to the doctor, and the doctor says, I'm stunned. I have to talk to both of you. Please sit down. He says, Patrick and Holly, I got the worst news in the world. Your little girl's screaming because she has a tumor the size of a grapefruit on her spine. And the worst news is it's going to metastasize and spread. My wife and I watched that little girl from a beautiful little kid running around, having fun like any normal kid. We watched her sit in a wheelchair. She come to the broken egg, in a wheelchair, be paralyzed. We then watched her go blind. She lost her vision. And then we watched her lose her life. And I went to that funeral that day, and I'm telling you, it ripped my insides. Ripped my insides. And when the funeral ended, I'm an emotional guy, as you all can tell. I went over to the mom and dad. I said, we can't save your child, but I guarantee you, my buddies and I are going to raise $1 million in less than a year in her name and help other kids. And we hugged and we did it. And I've watched Patrick and his wife, they go out and help others through their foundation. And the one thing that's amazed me through my 11 years, and every dollar I raise, and I beg people, if you can help us, you may be helping your child. Just go to dickvitaleonline.com and you'll see me there with a beautiful little girl, Lacey Holsworth. Click on there and you can make a donation. And it goes through the V Foundation. And those dollars, every dollar, it's not percentage. We have a grant, and off that endowment and that grant, $17 million, all the expenses are paid in running the foundation. So every dollar you donate goes to research, and it will go for pediatrics. But I watched how courageous those people are. But you're talking about, I spoke at Adrian's funeral. It was brutal, man. Watching a mom and dad put their child, I told you earlier, I was at black tie affairs, corporate events, Hall of Fame events, standing there watching a mother and father put their child to rest. How do you get words? I mean, it was as tough as can be. And I got to know those kids. Those kids are beautiful. I think I sent you a flyer. There's 12 of them that have been with us at my gala who no longer are here, who lost their lives, they lost the battle. But there are a lot of other kids we can share who have made it. The Jake Taraskas, the Kyle Peters, I could go on and on. Cole Eicher, so many beautiful kids out there. Tatum Parker's as good as it gets. She can't do enough to help other kids. These are kids who are cancer survivors, and we bring them to our event, showing that dollars do work. But I'm obsessed with it. That's my biggest thing now in my life. As I go forward in my life, I don't know how many days I have. To my last breath, I'm going to beg, I'm going to plead with corporate giants, with people in the world of athletics. We need money for kids. And they have to understand they might be helping someone they love.
I want to completely change gears here and talk about your other passion. Get back to talking about your other passion, basketball, and some notable moments from your broadcasting career. Michael Jordan, I believe, played in one of the greatest games you ever broadcast. What do you recall from it?
Oh, that was the Virginia game. Ralph Sampson. Well, it was great. You know, Michael Jordan, Ralph Sampson. Doesn't get better than that. I mean, we're talking about two of the greatest of all time. At the time, Ralph was the talk of the nation. I mean, Ralph Sampson, my memory tells me, he's one of only two players. I think Bill Walton did it as well. Became Player of the Year 3 consecutive years. And it was a great game. I don't know, number 1, number 3. I think Virginia was number 1. Carolina might have been number 3. And was played down at Chapel Hill in their older building before the Dean Dome. And it was unreal. At the end of the game, Michael was so sensational. He leads them in a big comeback with a win. And I remember going on the air saying, forget about Ralph Sampson, basically the best player in the nation, pound for pound, inch for inch, the Super South, Michael Jordan. And when I had to go to Virginia, I didn't realize I had a game coming up in Virginia. I go down there, man, they couldn't wait. I'm the front page papers, Vitale says Jordan's. I see Ralph Sampson, and he comes walking toward me, and he goes, there's Michael Jordan's PR agent, man. I said, come on, Ralph, you know I think you're great, but he's something else. And the funny part about it, I spoke at a big event honoring all the greatest players in the ACC. I mean, Ralph Sampson, all of them. And Ralph comes up to me and he whispers to me, and he says, you were right about Michael. But it was a great game, and Ralph certainly was a terrific college player and a Hall of Famer.
You broadcast LeBron's first ever televised game. What do you remember from that one?
You know what I remember about that? I didn't want to do it. That's the first game in my 30, well, I don't know how many years it was then at the time when he played, but I'm there 37 now, so you do the math, subtract whatever it is, let's say 25 years or so. I didn't want to do the game. When they called me, I said, come on, now we're making this high school kid into like, he's a god, so young. Give me a break. No, Dick, we want you to do the game. Then they hit me up, so you're going to do it with Dan Schumann, but you're also going to do it with Bill Walton. I said, Walton and I are going to walk in that arena at a high school game and make this kid like this his head. I said, he can't be half as good as what they're saying. Well, we go down there, and I cannot believe it. He literally took his team against a team that had like 4 or 5 Division I big-time players and made them look like they were junior varsity players. That's how good he was. I remember talking to him after, and I said, LeBron, you are so much better than what I ever dreamt you to be. I said, so much better. I said, you're going to be besieged by all kinds of people who all want a piece of you, make good decisions. And the one thing that I'm very proud of when you follow his career, he's been a tremendous role model. I know people get on him about the decision he made. It was the way it was done. But really, you study what he has done for people, what he's doing now, giving money, scholarship money to kids in Akron. He never forgot where he came from. And we need more people like him. LeBron, I was teasing the head of NBA, is a guy named Tim, maybe you know Tim Corrigan. Tim's a great guy. He runs the NBA production at ESPN. I said, Tim, my one thing in life, bucket list. I want to do a LeBron game. I did his first game ever on TV. I wanted my career. He said, you're on. You really want to do it? We're going to get that done. So I'm hoping that's my bucket list, that I can do a LeBron game in the NBA. So you got a first here now. See that? Exclusive.
LeBron, much like Michael Jordan, already has been, will be in the Hall of Fame one day. You are as well. How tough was it, though, on you the first few times you were nominated not getting in?
Really, not as tough, because I never felt in my heart that I was ever going to get in the Hall of Fame.
You really didn't?
No, I mean, you hear people say, well, you contributed to the game, you belong in. I don't think a lot of people are aware of this. Bobby Knight. Are you aware of Bobby Knight's situation with the Hall of Fame?
That he helped you out a lot.
Yeah.
What's even more impressive than that, when you were broadcasting when he was a coach, you guys weren't all that close. He was pretty hard on you.
Well, he's hard. I was tough on him. Bobby's a guy, if he likes you, he's going to go to bat for you. Well, one day, Bob called me up, and he said to me, I don't know if you're going to get in the Hall of Fame. It was the third time I was nominated. He said, but I'm going to tell you what, you're going to feel like a Hall of Famer. So I have letters from every living Hall of Famer, from John Wooden, Krzyzewski, right down the line. He said, I have letters that they've written to the Hall of Fame on how there should be no category called contributions to the game if Dickie V is not in. And I started laughing. Really? He said, yeah. He said, I started this because I firmly believe it. I said, you don't have to do that. Bob, you don't tell me what to do. Dick, don't tell me what to do. I did it because it's the right thing to do. And he said, here's what I'm going to do. He said, whether you get it or not, I've sent these all to the Hall of Fame, but I'm going to send you copies. I'm going to send you a copy, Coach Wooden's letter. It just brought me, handwritten letter, John Wooden. There shouldn't be Dick Vitale's passion for the game, so been vital to the game of college. It was really beautiful to see, and Bob did it, and that year I got in.
What was it like reading those letters?
Oh, it's just, these are guys I have respect for. I get criticized sometimes, and, I guess rightfully so, but I get criticized sometimes about singing the praises of coaches. Well, they don't understand. The games I've done over the years are the best of the best. What games am I doing? I'm doing games featuring the premier superstars, Hall of Famers. So what am I going to sit there and look? See, we live in a day and age. It's so easy today with all the social media, radio talk shows, bury people, rip people, when you have to face them, when you have to walk in the locker room. They don't even know who the heck is ripping them. Some guy on some little small radio show burying guys. That's easy to do. I always try to look, in my life, I try to look at the glass half filled rather than half empty. I try to look for that which is positive. But along the way, I like to think I have been analytical, and I have been critical when somebody deserves some criticism. I know I've done that. I don't care what anyone says, just go to the tapes and look at them and research them. But again, none of us are going to be perfect. We can't be perfect. I respect the media. I love the media. I love going in a media room, talking with all the guys, sharing moments with them, even those that have ripped me. And I've had guys, my wife would say, how can you talk to him? He ripped you, man. What am I going to do, get mad at him? What am I going to gain by that? But I am sensitive. People say, oh, I hear guys in sports, I don't read what they say. I don't care what they say. Well, then you have no pride. I care. I do give a damn what they say.
With regards to the Hall of Fame, and I know that they wanted you to give like a 5-minute speech. It ends up lasting 25 or 30 minutes. I hadn't watched it until the other day. From minute 1 to minute 25 or 30 was
I was
glued
short
to
actually
it.
compared to some guys.
Right.
There's no way in the world that you could get up and think about all the people, Graham, that have been good to you and do it in 5 minutes. You just can't do it.
Well, regardless, it was an amazing speech.
Well, thank you.
And I was glued to the screen. I was watching it on YouTube the other day. You've obviously mentioned you're an emotional guy. You didn't get emotional there, but you did really get emotional at the college court dedication ceremony. What about that got to you?
It's really amazing. I'm glad you brought that up in a way. They were taking bets, all the ESPN guys, how long before I broke down and cried at the Hall of Fame. And for some reason, I don't know what got me that I didn't. I was in my glory, I guess, too. I'm looking. I'm a boy of bullet dreams, as I told you early in our discussion. And here I am looking in front of me. Magic Johnson, Jerry West, Pat Riley, Bob Cousy, John Thompson, Bob Knight. I'm looking at all these people, the fabric, John Havlicek, the fabric of basketball, sitting in that room, and I'm standing there getting inducted with guys I thought the world of: Ewing, Olajuwon, Dantley, Pat Riley. It was unbelievable. Kathy Rush. It was just an incredible moment and an incredible high. But I let it go from my heart. I must have rehearsed. My wife got a kick out of when I gave my speech. She must have heard my speech 5,000 times in a bathroom, in bed at night, going over and over.
Hey, that's interesting, because that was my question when I was watching it, if you rehearsed or if you just...
Yeah, let me tell you what happened. So when the speech ended, she said to me, "That was nothing what I heard." I said, "I don't know what happened, Lord. Everything I memorized, all that stuff went out." And I just said, "You know what? I'm going to talk right from here." Talking about parents, talking about ESPN. Probably the greatest compliment, and he doesn't even know this, I've ever received, as far as I'm concerned. I was inducted a little while back into the Hall of Fame of broadcasters. And introducing me was George Bodenheimer, our president at the time at ESPN, CEO, president. And George got up and told the crowd. So a lot of you don't know this. He said, and the crowd was filled with all the giants in broadcasting were there, man, and Costas and Patrick, and they were there for many reasons, for honors they were getting as well. But he got up and told the crowd, he said, 1981, when I was hired by ESPN, meeting him, he said, my first job was to drive Dickie V whenever he came to Bristol, work in a mailroom, and Dickie V basically would give me all this advice. I was basically in his eyes Dr. Dick before there was a Dr. Phil, because I would tell him, he would say, "My girlfriend's getting upset with me, man. Here I am working in the mailroom. I want to be in marketing. I want to get ahead of marketing." And he went to a great college, Denison. And I would say to him, "George, there's something about you. You're going to make it big. I know you are." And one day, I'm sitting in Atlanta airport, mid-90s, and plane delayed. Grab the paper, USA Today. Named the president of ESPN, George Bodenheimer. I said, "Holy, that's my former driver." True story. I called up his office. I told his secretary I didn't want to talk to him. A voice message. "I'm going nowhere with my life. What am I doing? I'm driving you around. All I do is that. I'm working in a mailroom." I said, "George, you're the president, man. Don't forget me. I want a new contract." I got my 5-year contract, baby, instead of a wristwatch. But George told the crowd that night, the greatest compliment I got. He said to the crowd, "Dick Vitale treated me like royalty when I was his driver, and he's treated me the same way now." And the reason that was the greatest compliment, it hit my head immediately. My mom would be so proud, and my dad, because they always said to me, "Richie, be good to people, and people will be good to you, no matter what they do in life." I would have matched my mom and dad with any Harvard graduate, with any Princeton graduate, as people who cared, as people who had a heart of gold, as people who gave a damn about their family. It wasn't just book knowledge. A lot of people got book knowledge, but they don't have ability to communicate. I'm not saying that I don't want you to have book knowledge. My daughters went to Notre Dame. They got their masters at Notre Dame. I think it's fantastic. But it's part of life is communicating with people, getting along with people, all people. I remember when I was moving to Florida, "Oh my God, you don't know anybody down south? Give me a break. I don't care where you live. Whether it's the Midwest, East, the West, the South. People are people, man. And if you're good to people, people will be good to you."
What would you say is the most satisfying moment from your career to date?
My most satisfying moment was watching the joy and jubilation of my family at the Hall of Fame ceremony, the Naismith Hall of Fame. It doesn't get bigger than that. I remember one phone message I got so many, but one that stood out. The one that stood out to me, when I coached the Pistons, I had a great center. Unfortunately, I had some knee surgery when I was there and wasn't able to play the full game like I would like. But Bob Lanier leaves me a message. He goes, "My man Dick," I'll never forget this man, my man Dick. "We weren't too long together with the Pistons, but we'll be together for life now, my brother. Together for life. in the greatest club you could be on. And it's a very exclusive club. And you are now one of us. Congrats, brother, Hall of Famer. I will never forget that. And that's how I feel. When you go to the Hall of Fame, now my picture's right up there, my grandkids get see Jordan, you see all those people. Wow. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And to see the joy, my sister, my brother, I said it in my speech. They're Hall of Famers. You're a Hall of Famer, the kind of life you live. There are a lot of Hall of Famers. I always try to tell guys, no one gets in the Hall of Fame, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, whatever, by themselves. You get in there because people have opened doors. What bothers me and troubles me, a lot of the great athletes, unfortunately, forget where they come from. And they forget about those that have opened doors for them. Nobody gets in there by themselves. Somebody took you at age 5 or 6. I gave a speech to a bunch of kids recently and I told them, say, I love you, man. I love you to your mom and dad. There's a guardian or grandparent. Somebody made it happen for you to go to a camp. Somebody made it happen for you to be at this camp. You just didn't get here by yourself. And eventually some of those kids are going to make it.
Because of your success, you've earned the ability to have the convenience of being able to fly private to games that you do now.
No. Financially, I do that.
Right.
I want to make clear, ESPN does not pay for that.
They reimburse you for first class
First
ticket.
class,
Right.
yep.
How has that changed your life?
Changed my life job. Without the private plane, I wouldn't be working. I wouldn't be working because I give you a simple time frame. I did a little charting of it all. Last year, my season basically runs from, let's say November to the beginning of April. So you look at maybe 125, 130 days. What if I told you because of a private plane versus going commercial, I was home like over 70 some of those days? It's unbelievable. You can't put a price on that. And at my age now, it's vital that I spend some time with my family as well, because every day is one day closer, to the ultimate end. And I just think it's been phenomenal, but I do that on my own. I've been very blessed financially to be able to earn dollars away from broadcasting that I set up into what I call a plane account. It's a very expensive. I would have never done this when I was 50 or 45 or 55, because at that time you're saving for your future. But right now, my future is, taking care of my grandkids, taking care of my daughters and sons-in-laws, and making sure that they have something later in life and helping others.
If you're doing 7 o'clock game for Duke in North Carolina, take me through what the schedule is from when you're able to leave here to when you get back.
We don't have to report the announcers till 5 o'clock. 2 hours prior to game time. Prior to that, though, the day before, you're on a phone with coaches, producers, directors, getting all your information and all. But as far as the actual itinerary, as long as you're there by 5, but I make sure I'm there like, if it's, let's say a 7 o'clock game, I'd leave here maybe 11 in the morning. I'd get there 1:30, hang around, talk to some of the coaches or local people, and then go out and they have a room for me at ESPN, maybe do a Sports Center hit, and then do the game and get in a plane and come right back home. Now, if I went commercial, you go the night before, can't get out after the game, so you got to go home 12 noon. So it takes 3 days, 3 days of your life. Well, 3 days of my life is precious. So it's really added to my career. It's money. People say to me, man, you're wasting all that money. I don't call it a waste of money. First of all, it's money I never had. It's from outside. When I first approached my wife about it, I said, it's going to cost a lot of money. But I promise you one thing, it'll never come from my checks from ESPN. And I'm fortunate, knock wood, I have not touched an ESPN check for playing use ever. So that's all from extra income.
How would you describe what life's like today?
My life's been a fantasy, a dream. If it ended today, I could not describe it any better than the fact that I've been a boy, a ball of dream. I've lived a life blessed with a great wife, 45 years, Hall of Famer, great kids, beautiful grandchildren, have a beautiful home, make a decent living, work with beautiful people. I may not always agree about all the decisions that are made, but I work with some beautiful people, and I just been so touched magically by the man upstairs. I have really been a blessed guy. and I hope it doesn't end. I want to go on, and I want to be that guy that walks in to do a game at 100 years of age. Right now, I got 24 more years to go, and I'm going to make it happen. And you'll be sitting in that chair, and you'll be interviewing me. You'll be 53 at the time. You'll be sitting there and say, Dick, I interviewed you when I was 29. What does it feel now at 100? Oh, wow. You can dream, can't you? The dream, man. That's what the country's about. Dreaming, the greatest country of all. No doubt about it. I'm going to be like Muhammad Ali now. And the greatest country of all. America. Love it, baby. Love it.
Thank you very much.